Thank you to the panel for that insightful discussion. And now we're going to hear a panel on technology, innovation, and ship design, moderated by Allan Krogsgaard.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Allan Krogsgaard with DNV. I have the pleasure of moderating this panel here on technology, innovation, and ship design for the next 35 minutes. So yes, clean energy in a changing world, and how does this affect technology, innovation, and ship design? I have together with me here a very strong panel. We have Lina with international ship design. We have Christina with American ship repair. Robert from Kongsberg, and joining us from overseas is Thomas with Liberia Registry. So to piggyback off the good discussions we've already just had, I think I will start out with a question for Thomas. Thomas, how do you as a flag state see new regulations affecting decisions relating to innovation and design? What do you see as driving the change? Is it innovation, or is it regulations as it has always been in the past?
Thank you, Allan, for the good question. Can you hear me by the
Yes, yeah.
voice coming?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Yeah, thanks for the good question, Allan, and also many thanks for the invitation to join this panel discussion. To your question, historically, the international regulatory framework for ship design from the International Maritime Organization, IMO, has been based on prescriptive requirement that does not leave much room for innovation and new technologies. For example, the SOLAS Convention was established because of Titanic disaster, and subsequent amendments to SOLAS have been based on other disasters such as Derbyshire, Scandinavian Star, Estonia, and many more. And the same goes for the MARPOL Convention that was established because of the Torrey Canyon disaster and subsequent disasters such as Exxon Valdez, Erika, Prestige also led to further prescriptive requirements being introduced into the MARPOL Convention. This is a very slow and reactive approach, and prescriptive requirements are restrictive and does not really allow for innovation and new technologies in ship design. However, this has now changed. IMO introduced a goal-based standard, the GPS concept, back in 2016, that is now gradually being implemented into the international regulatory framework. And also there have been introduced provisions in the SOLAS Convention and other IMO instruments that allows for approval of alternatives and equivalent arrangements by applying a risk assessment-based concept. So that means that the flag administration, often with support from classification societies, can approve innovative ship designs that do not directly comply with the prescriptive rules and regulations, but provided a risk assessment approach has been applied and demonstrate an at least equivalent level of safety as provided for in the prescriptive requirements. So this is a more complicated and also more time-consuming process involving many stakeholders. However, it does offer that much needed opportunity for approval of innovative design solutions, alternative fuels, and new technologies to be adopted in ship designs. So this important and much needed change in the regulatory framework for ship designs is exactly what is required to unlock the potential for international shipping to reach net zero GHG emissions by 2050, as called for in the revised IMO greenhouse gas emission reduction strategy that was adopted at MEPC 80 meeting in July last year. However, the environmental requirement EEDI, EXI, and also CII in the MARPOL Convention are currently lacking recognition of new technologies such as onboard carbon capture systems. We are pushing very hard for the IMO to change this. But in summary, it's good news that the innovative ship designs can be approved to support optimization and our joint pursuit to reach net zero GHG emission by 2050 and thereby establish a sustainable green future for international shipping. So I hope that covered your question.
Yeah, no. Thank you, Thomas. So maybe piggybacking on that, maybe we could turn to you, Robert, as a technology provider such as Kongsberg. How do you see some of these latest innovations and technologies coming to the market? Maybe you can talk a bit about some of the trends and hot topics that you are dealing with together with your clients.
Sure, Alan,
Yep.
I appreciate the question, and I'm pretty impressed with the focus technologies getting around the room here. Both Hamish and Dorothea really tackled the technology challenges quite accurately in the previous sessions. I do want to set the scene a little bit, and it will be basically echoing what others have said in the past, but technology trends that we see vary greatly from segment to segment in shipping. When it comes to cargo carriers, in particular deep sea shipping, we do expect a moderate fleet growth in the coming years, but it's been said Suez challenges and also some Panama restrictions are driving longer transit times and also higher fleet utilization. So owners are typically looking now at building smarter ships. What that means is a different story. It's a complication in itself. But when you look at investments to build a smart ship, you do need available technology. You need to look at alternative fuels, access to funds, and also kind of weigh up what the potential cost of non-compliance with emission targets is going to be. So all these aspects will kind of build into your technology strategy moving forward. As it's been said, 3% greenhouse gas emissions is what shipping contributes to the overall, which doesn't sound like it's a lot, but certainly it's a responsibility we all have in the industry to bring that down. And the technology trends we see are definitely revolving around the alternative fuels discussion. But regardless of what the alternative fuel is going to be, I think it's important to point out that technology has to be fuel agnostic. What I mean by that is basically, regardless of ship type or vessel fuel selection, technology should be there available for all ship owners to utilize it to drive their emissions down. So that's where we are trying to lobby that in the industry as well. So with that in mind, there's a few trends that I think are worth mentioning. One is the energy efficiency side of things. Particularly, we see an uptick in interest in these hybrid shaft generator technologies with batteries, so concurrent use of those. Frequency converters can generate more power at lower speeds, so that means less fuel consumption. And then on the propulsion side, you'll have a couple of interesting things. One is these integrated propeller hubcap rudder arrangements, which again drive fuel savings with very limited to none of power losses. And then one big topic is wind-assisted propulsion. Hamish mentioned that as well. It's in its infancy. We do see a lot of inquiries coming through on validating designs with that technology. So I think it's one to watch. When you look at what we can do there, I think if you combine low-emission fuels with batteries and wind-assisted propulsion, that can be quite a powerful mix. And it can actually go well beyond the requirements for Phase 3 EEDI requirements. So it's something that the owners are looking at, and we are certainly advocating for more development and R&D to go with it. And then shifting gears a little bit as well, on the sensoring and advanced maneuvering side of things, we do have what's called autocrossing, and that's particularly interesting for nearshore shipping, passenger vessels, ferries, that kind of thing. But it's been proven to be quite a good contributor as well to fuel consumption reductions in longer transits. basically what it is, it's called a semi-autonomous system that pre-plans the route of the vessel in a way that it adjusts power consumption and it optimizes fuel usage. And it can be basically repeated on and off as the owner requests. And that allows to iron out any differences in operation from crews and captains and so on. So it's an interesting technology to explore further. And then lastly, again, to Hamish's point, anti-fouling, right? I think that's a big discussion. I think there's lots of technology out there that maybe advertises itself as ready to go. I fully agree that there's kinks to be ironed out in those. But we do believe that there is technologies out there that use magnets, strong magnets to attach themselves to the hull and are able to even clean the hull while the vessel is in transit. And of course, less fouling means less resistance, less fuel consumption. So we all know that. And then of course, dry dock costs and also painting costs will go down. And I want to finish off just with one blue sky thinking technology, which is remote and autonomous. And I know that this is something that people tend to get scared of when we talk about it, but I think in terms of the timeline for fuel emissions and also seafarer safety, it's a technology that we need to look at and try to explore a bit further. And we have already examples of these vessels in near shore shipping, but I think it has to be investigated further for longer transits as well.
Great, yeah, thanks, Robert. Lina, as our representative of a ship owner on the panel here, maybe it would be great for people to hear what are some of your thoughts on some of the current and urgent challenges you are facing related to compliance, and what are some of the next steps that you are considering working on, low-hanging fruit? What are you doing at Seaways currently?
Thank you, Allan. Thank you for having me on this panel, and thank you for both Chambers of Commerce for organizing this event. Yes, so from the point of view of a tanker owner, a lot of the main uncertainties and challenges are in how the regulatory frameworks are being developed, specifically around decarbonization. We just heard from Nick about the IMO developments. There's a lot going on, but it's all in progress still. So we won't have clear answers on midterm measures, life cycle analysis for the next few years. What we do have from the IMO is a final destination with their decarbonization targets. But until these midterm measures are built out, we won't have a very clear roadmap of how to get to those targets. Then beyond that, we have regional regulations which are still in development, or there are still questions around them. So the main one that we see is the EU ETS. That's already over a month underway, but we still have questions and details that need to be worked out. How to make the holding accounts, questions around some of the exclusions from the ETS. And then in less than a year, the Fuel EU Maritime regulation will take effect, and a lot of that element is still unclear. So the main approach for us is to be flexible, to have an open mind, to be keeping abreast of all the different developments, both in the regulatory landscape and in the technological landscape, and not immediately closing off any solutions. Our main understanding right now is that in the short term, energy efficiency improvements will be the main way to go, because the fuel landscape, the green energy landscape, isn't at a sufficient scale to support the tanker segment right now. So what we're doing at Seaways in that regard is we have a bunch of energy savings devices being installed in our fleet, whether that's Mavis ducts or propeller boss cap fins. We also have advanced hull coatings on a number of our vessels and a robust hull cleaning program. And we are constantly looking at different solutions and revisiting them as the years go on. We have undergone a few studies for wind assist propulsion. We've also done a study on carbon capture. Neither of those solutions make sense for us as a business at the moment, but that doesn't mean that they won't one day be a useful solution, so we're still staying up to date on those different projects. And that really should serve us through the early 2030s. What we do see happening after that with the steeper IMO targets is that energy efficiency improvements will not be enough to meet those targets. So a switch to alternative fuels will be necessary. It's hard right now to figure out what fuel that would be, especially for a sector like the tanker industry that runs on tramp trade. We don't really have very consistent fueling locations. So what we can do right now is see what fuels are available for us at scale, what offers carbon reductions at this point in time. And regretfully, Hamish kind of stepped on the announcement, the discussions. We do have some dual fuel LNG VLCCs in our fleet. Those are vessels that do offer carbon reductions now. They also prepare us to understand how cryogenic fuels work, how to operate them, and that will help us as, you know, methanol and ammonia and other future fuels become more feasible for us as a business. We also, through one of our pools, underwent a biofuels trial recently on one of our vessels, and that's another option that can fit relatively seamlessly into existing fuel systems and offer emissions reductions now. So to wrap all that up, we're not ruling out any solutions. We're looking at everything, and we're staying up to date on different potential options, both in the near term and in the long term.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, Lina. All right, Christina, as being our representative on the panel of a company that actually deals with the implementation of new technologies on board, you guys are advising and involved with all the practicalities, you could say. Maybe you could speak to some of the challenges or pitfalls or what are facing the ship owners and shipyards in terms of things they are dealing with right now.
I'm very happy to. But first, I have to take up a challenge that you gave me last night. Last night, Allan and I were joking because I studied comparative literature and philosophy as an undergraduate before I fell in love with shipping. So Allan said that he was going to ask me, what would Aristotle say about today's topic? So as the resident Greek on the panel, I felt a responsibility to find out what Aristotle would say. And I think the appropriate quote is that happiness is prosperity in combination with virtue. And I think that's what we are all doing in this room, in our industry today, as we try to make a greener world, but not blow up the bottom line. So that's very much what our company does for our clients. We are working every day. We've been serving the industry for 70 years, but working for the past 20 years to help them meet the changing environmental regulations. So like all of you, a lot of what we do, the first step is trying to understand the problem. And Allan, I want to thank you and DNV for the great information that you're always putting out, keeping us all up to date. But for us, the next step is finding the best in class. That means kicking the tires, finding out what's real and what's fiction, so that when we go to our clients, we have a realistic picture. And then finally, what we do is we bring them to market and we support the projects to a successful completion. That's what ASR does. Now, in doing this, we all know that it's not a one-size-fits-all scenario. We've been talking about this all morning already. It's been a theme. Different ship types, trade routes, even flag can affect the viable design and technology choices. But until you've lived that, it's very difficult to understand the real-world impact. And a quick example I'll give you is we were working on a ballast water project. In the midst of it, the vessel was reflagged from non-US to US flag. And in doing so, the regulation regarding the pump room completely changed. So the project that we had spent months working on was now no longer viable. We had to go back to the drawing board and find a different solution and a different design. So it's something we all live every day. But things are changing, and it's no longer, you know, I have a regulation I need to meet. I need an oily water separator. Which one do I need? What's happening now is that with decarbonizations, we're all facing one of the most challenging chapters of our time. So now we're looking at curating a suite of technologies. It's something we've heard now numerous times just in the first two panels. People are looking at greener fuels like LNG and bio-LNG, and we are certainly working with our clients with a company called CLNG doing retrofits. But there's also hull lubrication, sails, kites, MEVIS ducts, propeller caps, carbon capture, which we're certainly fascinated by, but there's so many options. You have to really get into the weeds to figure out what's going on. So now not only are ship owners faced with the original set of criteria, vessel, trade routes, and so forth, but you have so many technologies to consider, it's become a very complicated matrix. And you do have to watch out for unintended consequences sometimes and how those technologies can all work together. One thing that we have found that regardless of the technology, the most important thing that a ship owner can do is train your crew. Because you can get the best technology, but if your crew does not know how to operate it, you will have headache after headache. So training has to be supported by the manufacturer and prioritized by the owner. That is a key to success. In addition to training, there are valuable tools that can support the crew. So there's a platform that many of our customers use called Ocean Guardian, which gathers all of the current environmental regulations into one digital home, and it can be accessed at sea, and before crews are pulling into a port, they can pull up a checklist so they know which regulations apply and what they need to do to be compliant. It's like an insurance policy. And for me personally, I am very excited by the entrepreneurial response of the industry to these problems. Now, I'm here today wearing my American ship repair hat, but Alan, if you'll indulge me, I'm going to put on my WISTA hat for a second.
Please, yeah.
But I do want to celebrate because I think that we have to take note of the incredible number of female founders and scientists that are helping to move the needle on decarbonization. So that's companies like Total Marine Solutions, Irma First, Veer Voyage, Seabound, the Ocean Opportunity Lab. They're all doing different things, but they are moving the needle in a very major way. In closing, in my little section, I'm going to quote another Greek. First it was Aristotle, now it's going to be Peter Giannopoulos, the president of our company. He likes to quote Greek sayings. So he always says that the best captains are shown in the worst of storms. So we realize that as an industry, we're faced with a storm of challenges as we embark on this decarbonization journey. However, and again echoing what we've heard numerous times this morning, when we work together, when there's cooperation among stakeholders, transparency, and efficient information sharing, we really fervently believe that our industry is well suited to navigate to calmer and cleaner seas. So I think I want to end with a positive thing,
Yes,
not just the
yeah.
pitfalls.
Yeah, thank you, Christina. I would really like to take some questions from the audience and see if we can get a good discussion. Sir.
Can you hear me? Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Joe Hughes, American Club. I'd like to congratulate Christina, and Dorothea referred to it earlier as well, about the importance of training. Training in regard to the use of new fuels and technologies, because absent that, of course, you will have those unintended consequences, many of which may impact P&I clubs, of course. Thank you very much. So to that extent, that is a point very well taken indeed. But I haven't heard mention of nuclear technologies, actually, which has been, discussed on occasions like this in the past. Well, you may have mentioned it, actually, but I hadn't heard it because my hearing's not quite as good these days as it was 20 years ago when I first participated in these events, actually. But is it realistic to contemplate the use of things like molten salt reactors and so on in regard to future propulsion needs for shipping?
Joe, from our perspective, we are guided by our clients and customers and what their appetite for risk is. That's not something that has come to the top of the list yet.
For us, we have seen inquiries come through on this technology. I think there's a lot of work to do to convince society at large that this is a technology worth exploring. There's a lot of fear associated with it for natural reasons. I think if you dig into the technology side of things, and you understand what it's about, I think some of that fear will eventually dissipate. But we need to make sure as an industry that we lobby that idea in a healthy way. For example, I can tell you that there's been fishing vessel owners who have been very interested in this technology. So it's really out-of-the-box thinking stuff. The smaller the vessel, the more manageable, presumably, these technologies could be. So I don't take it off the table. I think it's brewing somewhere in the background. But I think if we, as a collective, as an industry, decide that this is the way to go and supplement decarbonization, then we have to probably unite in forums like these and lobby that idea, educate the wider public on it.
And I'll just add, I agree with everything Robert said. I think the social baggage associated with nuclear is probably the biggest challenge, but there's a chance that on-ship, onboard nuclear propulsion could happen, but there's also an opportunity to use nuclear energy on the land side aspect in creating green fuels. So there are different pathways that could be followed.
Thank you. Yep. Any
Maybe
further questions?
From the regulatory perspective with
Thomas, yes.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I can add on that with the IMO, where currently it is not really possible to use nuclear power for merchant shipping on international voyages. But I agree with Lina there that it will probably first come to produce the green fuels. And in the parallel with that, we will be working at IMO to look at this, because obviously it will be a safety concern and also the public perception. But it is being looked at, and in the future it could be a possible solution.
Yeah, thank you. And from DNV, we're also seeing that biofuels as a drop-in fuel is certainly also something people are considering in the near term, medium term. Of course, you got to remember, if you are using biofuel, it has to be true biofuel, right? So if it's biofuel produced with fossil fuels or spending more energy than what you are really saving, it doesn't really make sense. So as been discussed before, you have to really look at the full equation, not only from the tank to the propeller, but really from well to wake, and that's where the regulations are taking us to. So, yeah, if there's no further questions, I would like to thank the panel, and I will also encourage you all to seek out these great panelists during our breaks and socializing. I'm sure they'll be very happy to continue the conversation. Thank you very much.